Go right. Do you want to do that yourself? Okay, just put it
let's
like
see.
right underneath your.
Right here on the collar.
There you go.
I've never been interviewed before. No, I don't. I'm good without signature. I got the picture. We'll be good.
Okay. Okay. Oh, beautiful.
Bye,
Rob.
everybody.
Okay.
Bye, sweetheart. I love you.
You're walking between worlds. I get it. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, there is. Because in a different reality, you know, your name could be Robert.
Or Bob.
You're Bob. You're Robert. You're Sean. My bad. Sorry. I am bad with names.
Me too.
I know faces though.
Gone.
I'm just saying your name is different overall.
Yeah. No, it could be whatever. You can call me whatever. Because now you know me as the entity who identifies as Rob in this incarnation.
Well, that's what we are. We're playing identity roles, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's all we're
name
doing.
we're given.
So I had a dream when I was praying for my purpose and had a dream of finding a it was reverse drainage from these mountains, like it was going down. It was a ginormous purple crystal, like 3 or 4 stories tall, that crumbled out of a cliff.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Thank you.
Mystic told me, he's like, oh, that's
Well, good. Now you can
sixth
sign.
dimension.
Awesome.
That's in the sixth. You're supposed to deal with that crystal. It's got a ton of information. It's in the 6th dimension. You need to go. Anyway, have to.
That's 3 dimensions from here. I don't know how you're going to get there.
So, if you have any clue, Ismael, to help me clue in what the heck I'm supposed to do with that.
Very interesting.
You know.
So I don't know. I guess he says we're still recording. So
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, it's recording.
Oh, good,
Awesome.
good.
Sorry.
So Robert, thank you for coming here.
Thank you. Good to meet you.
Likewise. So how was your evening? How
It was
it?
fantastic. I came here with one purpose and one purpose only,
Which is?
to meet you.
Oh, that means a lot to me, brother.
Yeah. I've been on a spiritual journey for a long, long time. I'm tired just like everybody else in the room. Been through all kinds of material, tons of reading similar to you, and I've had quite a journey. And I'm never compelled to go to these things. And the reason I'm compelled to come see you is because of the level of which you resonate with me based on all my studies and my personal spiritual experiences and all of these other things. I can tell from the energy and the way that you express yourself, and I can tell your genuine level of articulation, that it's all very genuine and a higher purpose, and you're not here to manipulate. The hard thing for me all the way through has been the distortions and trying to find those little nuggets in all the information. So I appreciate that about you. You're a very genuine person. So that's hard. It's hard to find in the community. So anyway, I thought it would be worthwhile to come and meet you. And you're a brother, so you'll eventually, if you haven't realized it already, you'll eventually realize that. So
No, I know you're my brother. That's why you're here. We're gathering the tribe. So I do have a gift for you.
Oh, really? Okay, good. Well, I'm not done. I'm going to tell you about my experience too, my awakening experience. If you're okay with that.
Oh yeah, you go ahead.
Okay. So my awakening started when I was a little kid. I was probably 16, 17 years old. I was raised LDS, and so
A lot of us were.
yeah. I just happened to find myself back in LDS land, but I was raised LDS, and I happened to go through this period because I was getting ready for every LDS young man. That period comes to where you have to make a decision: do I go on a mission or not? Right? And I was working through that. I was reading all the documentation and all the information that you read that's handed out at church, praying heavily. And at that time, I started praying in a true earnest fashion, that comes from the heart center. I didn't realize it at the time. I identify with that now, but it was earnest prayer and expression into the universe, right? And I was doing that, and what happened is I invited something into my room. I remember because my mother was actually in a room across the hallway from me. My dad was downstairs watching TV and falling asleep like dads do. And what happened is my entire room went dark, and I felt the presence come into my room. And I tried to stand up. I couldn't stand up. I tried to hit the light. I couldn't hit the light. I could barely get the door open. I got over into my mom's room and I woke her up and I said, Mom, something's after me. And I couldn't see it. It was because it was dark, And I just felt this sheer fear and panic, right? And I don't know where it came from. So long story short, she, raised her arm to the square, invoked the name of Jesus Christ, and the entity or entities left. I don't know if it was more than one. it indicated to me, all these years later, I realized that the feminine has the ability to do these things, right? In the LDS church, that's not something that's commonly taught. You know, you have your place, or other religions. You know, so my mom had the ability to do these things, which is pretty fascinating. But I'm only telling you that part of it so you can understand what happened next. So I laid on the bed and I talked to her for a good hour and fell asleep. And what happened was I was instantly pulled out of my body, and I was traveling through the universe, and I was being downloaded with information. Now, the voice sounds like my voice now, like I recognize it. So it had to either have been me or a greater version of myself. Yeah. And so, but I didn't identify that at the time. All I was saying is like, oh crap, I'm dying. I'm gonna freak everybody out, right? And I'm freaking out the whole way through. Right. And I'm hearing this, what I call the music of the spheres. Like I'm going through the universe, and I can hear all of this music and all of this. And it's just a tone, you know, the solfeggio tones are very similar. And I'm getting downloaded with information, and all I'm saying is, listen, I don't want to have all this information right now. I don't want to. I want to get back, and all this voice kept telling me is, the stuff that I brought back. It's like I'll let you take back what you need, and here's some of the things that I took back. And the bottom line was, I said, I'll remember this information when it's time, but I want to go live life normal. Remember. And then but this voice made it very clear: do not kill yourself. You're going to be very upset if you do, because you're going to miss something very important. So that was one thing. The other thing was, you know, I'm here for a grander purpose, and I couldn't quite conceptualize all of it at the time, because at that time I was perceiving things from a bias of LDS culture, right? From the downloads and the information. So it was just conflicting, right? So I'm just like, this is a lot of information. So I brought it all back, and boom, I slammed right back into my body, and I was just sitting there, and the room all of a sudden just kind of closed back in, and I was just, for 2 days after that, I couldn't move. You know, gosh. So it was super overwhelming, right? And so I just, you know, from there I went and I said, okay, I'm going on a mission. This is God's way of telling me that I need to go on a mission.
Really?
You know? Yeah.
Oh wow.
So anyway, long story short, I went on a mission, lived a normal life, because that's what I wanted to do. Fast forward, you know, you get married, you have children, all these other things. Into 2011, all of a sudden the lights start coming back on, right? And so I'm pulling information, the channelings of Ra to this, to that, to this, to that. So I start to understand some of the basic stuff. And then one of the things that I got during my journey out of body is I was told there will be a significant teacher that will cross your path. And I had a picture in my mind of who it was, but there was no name or anything. It was just a teacher that was going to open me up to things. And I found, and that teacher, by accident, I found this individual. I'd had plenty of teachers before that, but I would know it. And this individual opened up concepts. And this person had very similar situations to you. So, experience with the Galactic Federation. I'd run into other people that had experience with that stuff too. And but it just opened me up, right? So it was a great awakening opportunity, and what I realized is a tremendous amount about myself. All of a sudden, started pouring back in again. It opened up the crown chakra, and then all of a sudden, stuff, started pouring in. And it's interesting you bring up schizophrenia, because at the time, my ex was very LDS, and so when I started dumping some of this stuff, she couldn't take it. It was blowing her mind. She's like, "You are schizophrenic. We need to take you." I remember being in the car, having her. She was getting me medication. Mm-hmm. She was convinced that I was schizophrenic, and that I needed to go get a CAT scan. I was on the way to the doctor to get a CAT scan, where I said, "Stop, I'm not doing this anymore." And what I realized, because at that point I had awoken to my authentic self. I woken to my authentic self. And there were several things that I remembered. I remembered I was a sovereign individual. I was not created. I've always existed. I'm a creator being. That I don't need to fear anything, because nobody can destroy me. Things like that. And all those things become very liberating. It gives you the power to be able to march forward in your truth, And so at that point, so naturally the relationship crumbled down, because she was trying to do everything she could to kind of keep me in that little LDS box. It just wasn't going to work. And it was very difficult. So, fast forward, from that point, I started opening up and realizing other things in regards to the organic nature of the universe, the reality that the best opportunity that I've got, the reason I'm here is to experience every moment, right? So in this reality, and the other aspects, to your point, the other parallel Robs, or however I identify in those things, are having theirs too. And then we're going to, based on the fractal nature of the universe, we're going to bring it all back together through ascension, and we're going to have these experiences to look at. And
you become a greater collective, more intelligence.
yes, and that's exactly one of the greatest aspects I've discovered of the ascension process. Like when I went through this initially, when I first started the process of awakening, I didn't identify it as the ascension. I only knew it as a great event in your life. I knew that I would not die a natural death. I was telling my ex-wife that. She thought, "You're crazy," And I said, "No, I'm not going to die a natural death. It's just not going to happen," And so those are things that I came back with that were really exciting. So, long story short, here I am all these years later, and what I've realized is that, and it's hard because I mentioned walk between the worlds, because you have to live a 3D life and pay the bills and take care of the children and do all these things, but you're also seeing the world from another perspective. And it's super, super difficult to walk between the worlds. I've got to go to work every day and walk and look at my brothers and sisters and go, "You're still asleep. There's nothing I can do to help you." And I have to also exist in your world of insecurity, of ego-driven hunger for money and materialism, and all of these other things. I have to coexist in that world. Very difficult, when you're awake and aware. And so what I know is that, every moment's a gift in this incarnation. I haven't woken up to all the other aspects of myself because I don't want to. Because what I want to do is I want to experience the ascension process raw. And because that's the excitement. It's the organic unfoldment of life. And in the organic unfoldment of life, if anybody's seen Pocahontas, at one point she's going down the river bend and she pulls her oars out and she just trusts in the river, right? And that's what I took away in my awakening is, it's not like you don't do life, but you just know and trust in your higher self and your connection that everything's going to work out in the natural organic unfoldment of life. And once you have that confidence and understanding, then you feel much better. And so in this aspect of awakening, now I just get up every day and I don't put much thought to it. I just let it unfold. And whatever happens, happens. I know that I've got some basic responsibilities like paying the bills, and I just got to stay committed to that. But I know when the moment is right, the ascension's going to pop, and then my calling is going to begin. I call it a calling, but it's just the natural unfoldment of what I've contracted with my fellow brothers and sisters to do. And that's to assist in the awakening aspect. Why am I in Utah? I'd mentioned it to some of the people here before. I recognized that I was like, for anybody who's had an old TV, you remember the tubes in the back, the transistors, those things that would light up. And part of my awakening helped me see things like that I am a transistor actually plugged into the earth wherever I'm at, spreading my energy and my light, right? So, and so I realized that if I'm engaged with somebody, and if their light or their vibration is off of mine, I'm aiding in their growth and their development, throughout the day. And it's hard because, you have all of this pressure from the modern day. Well, you're a narcissist if you feel like this, or no, I don't. I'm in servitude to the all. I don't care. I used to be concerned because I was so, my individuality was so hard earned. And I'm like, man, I don't want to go back. I don't want to flow back into the all because I don't want to lose my, myself. But now I've realized that doesn't happen because I'm helping the all discover itself. Mm-hmm. So that's exciting too. So long story short, here I am meeting Ismael today. Super excited about it. Good to meet a brother who's been traveling for epochs and eras of time in the natural unfoldment of life. So there's my story.
Thank you for being here, Robert.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Now, I gave you your gift.
Yes.
That's for you to take
Thank
home
you.
with you. And also, how old were you when you snapped out of your hypnosis?
I was 43, so you can tell between 16 or 17 and 43 I was sleeping. Okay. So it's quite a while.
Okay.
Quite a while, yeah. Living the good old LDS dream.
Fabulous.
That story was, you could write a movie out of this, make a movie out of it.
I couldn't believe it for the longest time.
That could be a serious.
Disbelieving it, but anyway.
That does remind me of Out on a Limb when Shirley MacLaine goes out into the universe.
Yeah.
That's fabulous.
And Doctor Strange, when the ancient one snaps him out of his body,
when he was like trying to define, oh no, science says that, you know, this stuff is mumbo jumbo, and she goes, psh, and then he comes back and he goes,
Oh, Dr. Strange.
you know, he was like, teach me. Like how he was like, pretty much like how you were describing going through the entire universe and different dimensions. And
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
I became aware in my awakening. This is one of the things I wanted to mention. People here who have lived an LDS journey of the false white love and light aspect. It is a deception of humanity because we're so starved here in the 3D, and you know sorry, and so one of the things I realized is the ironically the death reincarnational loop is you've got the false light love narrative, life review, all of that. None of that is needed because we have the Akashic. We can go back and look at our lives at any time. We can look at it from any perspective. So I knew that you didn't need to have somebody sitting you down, pretending like they're your father, and then showing you your life in review. You don't need that. You're here to have an experience. It's all your choice. It's all a deception, right? But ironically, as part of my awakening, I realized that I contracted with those beings to let me have that experience in that reincarnational cycle. And so, you know, the paradoxical nature of what we're doing here is just mind-blowing, right? You know, to sit there and look at the fact that I've lived life after life and I've been a rapist and I've been raped, or I've been a murderer, or I've been murdered, you know, because to experience the experience of duality, you've had to have similar experiences, right? To really feel, you can't do it all in one lifetime. It's impossible. So these are all parts of my awakening. I didn't quite fit in, but anyway, I appreciate the extra time.
Thank you for coming, Robert.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there's some good things here because this is one of the reasons. Back to the transistor aspect, right? So I realized.
Just to let you know, while you were gone, he was sharing for the last. Okay.
Oh.
So I thought I let you know that.
So I knew I had to come here tonight, share my story, meet you. Those are the things. It's also been great to meet everybody else, you know, because I don't, you know. It's not, you don't get the opportunity to meet. You know, you meet people on the internet, and I've made some good relationships there. But the transistor aspect, why am I back in Utah? Because something's going to happen in Utah. It's going to happen everywhere. But there's going to be a big shock in Utah in regards to the LDS culture and the ascension process.
I feel it's coming too.
Yeah. And specifically because if you've been LDS, you know how passionate they are here about their religion. Catholics, a little different, right? You know, they're a little bit loosey-goosey. LDS is excited about what they do. They're passionate. They're great people. But when all of the truth starts rising to the surface, it's going to be very, very difficult. People are going to have mental breaks. It's going to be very complicated. And so I want to be a first responder for that.
I want to hold the mic. You can hold this one. I want a deep dive. You can hold that real mic.
Yeah, let me get this one then. Because if you guys are holding it, it makes a lot of noise.
Oh, sorry.
So now it's like a real podcast, right?
Oh, well, I don't know if it looks weird me doing this. I just kind of sit up here.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, you know, I am excited to be here and not know what's coming next. That is exciting to me. You know, a lot of people are like, I want to know what's happening. I want to know what's coming. But you know what? You know what the excitement is? Waking up every day and not knowing what's coming, and then having the confidence and the internal knowledge, knowing that this is the natural unfoldment of life, and I'm the driver here. You know, it's like I'm not the victim; I'm the driver of this, and that's where the freedom comes from, right? So yeah, I found my way back here. I wake up every day and I'm like, oh, another day 3D. Here we go. You know. Oh, another day of 3D, here we go. But I know eventually it's going to pop, you know, it's going to pop, it's going to happen.
The element of surprise. Huh?
Yeah, I'm all for it. So however I can be in service.
One of the people that won't be asking when is the solar flash going to happen.
Oh my God. I think I get that question every single time. Every single interview.
Yeah.
When is it going to happen?
Yeah.
That's a common question. I think that's everybody's number one. They want to know.
I'll tell you, I had a moment recently. Okay, this is going to sound really weird. I don't know if this is on film. I don't know if you might want to cut this part. I do a lot of meditation in the shower. So being LDS,
You haven't said anything weird at all, man.
Okay.
Meditating in the shower. It's all what we all do.
Don't picture anything. But here's the thing. Like, being LDS and then climbing out of this, one of the things that I realized in my awakening is in this incarnational cycle, I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to escape the religion. I wanted to escape all of the things that are happening here that are confusing. You know, just the duality and understanding the concept that we're all one, right? That was part of my awakening too. And so in the shower, as I was meditating one day, I realized I was able to recognize myself creating my moments in the eternal now. And it was very, very clear to me that in every moment that I interact with each person, a greater version of ourselves is in the eternal now, creating that moment. And the only reason that happened recently, but the first trigger to that was deja vu, realizing that all of these moments are already created. It only appears to us to be linear, but the reality is it's all created all together in the eternal now.
It is. And quantum gravity theory proves that. Clee Irwin, who is a genius, trying to put everything into a theory of everything involving the 8 lattice, what they call the polygosytope, in which it's an 8th dimensional crystal sphere that projects into a 4th dimensional crystal sphere, and then that projects into a 3rd dimensional, and we have and then in turn that gives a 2nd dimension, which is a periodic table that just continues, right? Or a periodic pattern rather.
Yeah.
Like the checkered board. He talks about how, it's exactly what you said. It's the past and the future, and everything in between is all influencing one another. So you as a baby influenced you when you were 10, you now are influencing you when you were a baby. Your baby's influence, or you at 3 are now influencing you at 53, and so on and so forth. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's all happening at the same time. There is no direction. The past and the future are the same thing according to this theory. It explains everything.
Right. It is very mind-blowing. The aspect of predestination, it appears as predestination here because we think linearly, but it's not really predestination. The reality is that it's the eternal now, right?
Yeah.
And so when you think about your greater being planning parallel universes of your embodiments, it's mind-blowing, So I sit there and I go, okay, let's go back to work, because it's very, very complicated. So I'm waiting for the next great event. I mean, people might be saying, Rob, why are you just waiting around? Why aren't you doing more? And I'm like, well, my job starts when that happens. So,
In the meantime, you're being who you are, and that is inspiring to those at your job and those that you interact with. And
Exactly.
So.
It's interesting when you get to a point of awakening, you realize it's almost like if you picture a little light trail behind yourself. Everywhere you go, you're leaving a little light trail.
Not only that, but your energy is affecting others as well in a positive way.
And I've noticed that. So, anyway, that's my story. Sorry, I took.
No, it's fine.
That's great.
Thank you, Rob.
Yep.
That was a beautiful story, man.
Oh, you
Thank you for
Who's
that.
going to be next and who's going to be last? Between who two? You and her. Oh, you haven't gone yet?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go for it, buddy.
Go
Go ahead. Go for it.
Whatever works.
You're the last one.
Whatever works.
Thank you, sir.
So welcome.